Hey folks, Martin here from Mobility Direct. Hope you're all keeping well. In this video, I'm going to be providing some information and advice if you will be visiting Ireland and renting a mobility scooter. Chances are it's going to be a pretty big trip and you'll want things to run as smoothly as possible. So hopefully this video will help. Okay, so renting a car, I suppose, unless you're going to stay in Dublin, renting a car is probably one of the better options. Unfortunately, the public transport system sort of outside of the main cities wouldn't be great. So if you plan on traveling around the country, then, I would recommend renting a car. A lot of people will pick up a car at Dublin Airport. And so what we can do is if you're going to rent a scooter, we can have the scooter delivered to the car rental desk in the airport terminal. So whenever you land in, you can go to pick up the car and you can pick up the mobility scooter at the same time. So we just need basic information like the flight details and reservation of the car, rental booking, etc. But it's not an issue. We can have it there before you land. Now, there's just a couple of things on the cars. The cars in Ireland are a lot smaller than they are in the US. So you're not going to see any, Ford pickups or GMCs or anything like that here. So just need to be mindful of that when you're choosing the car size. What I would say is what you guys call a sedan, we call a saloon. And typically that'd be the type of car or the size car that I would recommend going for. Now, if there's only one or two of you traveling, then maybe you might get away with a hatchback or an economy size. But typically I would recommend the sedan or the saloon size car. All the small scooters we do will break down into four parts, and they'll take up most of the space of the boot or the trunk, as you call it. So you do need to be mindful of that when you are thinking about luggage, etc. Yeah, just one little tip on the parking. If you have, say, a disability parking badge or permit or equivalent that you use at home, you can bring it. You can bring it with you on your trip, and you can use it while you're driving around Ireland. There's a cross-border sort of initiative, if you like, across Europe and the States, where it'll be honoured here. So I'll be honoured just as we'll be at home, so you'll have access to parking. So again, just if you have a permit or a badge, bring it with you, place it on the dash, and it will be honoured as it will be as if you're at home. So as well as the airport, we also do a lot of deliveries to hotels. So if you are going to be staying in a hotel, we can have the mobility scooter delivered to the hotel, again like the airport, before you arrive. Once we have the reservation details, we can have it left there before you check in. Usually the hotels will leave it either in the luggage room, or if it's a big enough hotel, the concierge might look after it until you guys check in. One important thing about the hotels is that the older hotels are exempt from newer building regulations, so they won't all be wheelchair accessible. And obviously, if you have limited mobility or you're going to be using a scooter, then that is an important consideration. Some of the older hotels, especially in the city centre, might only have steps at the front, which of course is going to be far from ideal and might not work. So what I would say, either check with the hotel or you can check with ourselves. If you have, a short list, you might still be doing your homework, so to speak, when it comes to which hotel to stay in. Please do get in touch. We've certainly as far as Dublin is concerned, there aren't many hotels that we haven't delivered to at this stage, and we can offer advice based on previous bookings. Some hotels are more accessible than others, and I have to say as well that some hotels are more accommodating than others when it comes to looking after guests with mobility issues or limited mobility. So, if you do want some advice on that area, please do get in touch and we can offer some help. Okay, so private tour buses are also really popular. We work with all the main tour bus operators, Brendan Vacations, Bus Éireann, Butlers, there's lots more. And there's no issue there. What we can do is we can link in with the tour bus operator in regards to delivering the pickup. Now, the one important thing there is just to let the tour bus operator know in advance that you are going to bring the scooter with you. Oftentimes they might come back looking for the specs, might want to know the length and the width, and obviously we can provide that information, but it is, just to reiterate, it's just really important just to let them know that you are, that you do plan on bringing the scooter with you. It has happened in the past where the person didn't let them know and they didn't allow for the extra space required in order to store the scooter. So just to let them know and keep them in the loop of your plans. So yeah, as I said, we would link in then with the driver. So if it's the case that the driver is going to pick you up at the airport and you have a scooter booked at us, oftentimes what we'll do is we'll link in with the driver and we'll have it delivered to them to the bus or the depot. So when they go to pick you up at the airport or wherever it is, the scooter will be on board. Again, just link in with them and let them know your plans, and if they require information, any specifications, then come back to us and we can provide that. Yeah, so Airbnb is another popular option. You know, if you are going to be staying at an Airbnb, we'll need the host details along obviously the full address. As well, we have had issues in the past before with delivering and collecting. The problem being that, say, unlike say the airport or the hotel, you know, you guys will need to be there at the property to take the delivery. You know, oftentimes the host will be in a completely different country, so we can't just drop it off. So that's just, I suppose, an important consideration. You know, when you're factoring in, what time the flight gets in at, how long it's going to take you at the property, and things like that. So just please do be mindful of that. Obviously, if we've arranged a time and we go out to the property and there's nobody there, we can't make the delivery. We can't just leave it there. So that's just an important consideration if you are going to be staying in an Airbnb property. Yeah, so when it comes to visitor attractions and accessibility, thankfully, most of the main visitor or tourist attractions have good accessibility. So all the main ones that you can think of, the Guinness Storehouse and Teeling's Whiskey Distillery, Kilmainham Jail, Trinity College. You're not going to have any issue there using your mobility scooter. The only thing I would the only thing I would recommend being mindful of would be what I would call, say, the external attractions. So the likes of the Cliffs of Moher or say the Giant's Causeway. For those kind of places, you'll only be able to use your mobility scooter to a certain point, and then depending on your level of mobility, you may need some assistance from then on to, I suppose, fully enjoy or fully experience the attraction. Now, those two places that I did mention, the Cliffs of Moher and the Giant's Causeway, recently got buggies. They're kind of a type of a large golf buggy that they can use to assist people with mobility issues, so that they don't miss out on the attraction. So I suppose for those, as I call them, external attractions, I would probably recommend linking in with them directly. And maybe just explain your plans and seeing what's available, looking for up-to-date information. I suppose, again, those two attractions that I mentioned are quite far out of the way, so you might be driving 3 or 4 hours or more to see them. So I suppose you don't arrive there and then not be able to fully experience not fully experience the attraction. So for those type of attractions, I would recommend linking in directly and maybe just explain your plans and your needs, requirements, and looking for up-to-date information. Okay, so just when it comes to charging the mobility scooter will be delivered fully charged, and there will be a charger in the basket. Usually what we would do is we'd recommend charging it every night for 8 hours, and I suppose overnight is kind of the easiest way to go about it. Some of the hotels will let you charge the scooter in the lobby. What I would say is, if you want to do that, that's fine. Just make sure you take the key out of the ignition if you're going to do that. With the smaller scooters, one of the nice things about it is that you can remove the battery pack and charge it separately to the scooter. So, for example, you could have the mobility scooter in, say, the trunk of a car, or outside the hotel room, and then you can bring the battery pack in just to recharge. So again, the main thing is, charge it every night for 8 hours, and you won't go too far wrong. So when it comes to security, I suppose the main thing really is just to not leave the scooter unattended for too long. If you are going to leave it unattended, just take the key out of the ignition. In 9 years, we've only ever had one scooter stolen, which I think is quite good. And that person left it in Temple Bar unattended for, I think, something like 4 hours with the key in the ignition. So either, I'm not sure what happened, maybe the Guinness is very good or they made a miraculous recovery. I think it was A, but that's the only one we've ever had stolen. So the most important thing is just, if you are going to leave it unattended, don't leave it unattended for too long, and make sure that you take the key out of the ignition. There is insurance included, so when you rent a scooter from us, it does include insurance, but you do have to take obviously certain precautions and steps to look after the scooter. Okay, so when it comes to the weather, you've probably realised by now that you're not going to get a suntan here. It does tend to rain quite a lot. Not so much in the east side, in Dublin and the kind of east side of the country, it's a lot less rainfall, but certainly in the west and the south, it does rain quite a lot. So if you are going to be travelling around those areas quite a lot, and you'll be using the scooter quite a lot, what I would say is just ask us for a poncho. There are specific types of ponchos for mobility scooters that will cover yourself and the front of the scooter, which is the most important part to keep dry. So you can keep this poncho, say, in the seat pocket or in the front basket, and just use it then as required. Okay, so you might have noticed on our website that we do small scooters and large scooters. The vast majority of customers go for the smaller one. I would say 95% plus. If you're going to stay in Dublin and you need something with kind of bigger range and something that's more comfortable, then yeah, the larger scooter can work. But if you're doing any traveling around at all, the larger scooters just aren't very suitable. The small scooters are designed to be transported, but as I said, they'll fit in the trunk. But the larger scooters won't. You know, technically some of them do disassemble, but they're not, I suppose what I would say, they're not very practical. You know, some of them, you know, weight-wise are up on 300, 400 pounds, you know, so, you know, they're just not very practical. So, you know, if you're going to stay in Dublin, fine, it might work. But if you're going to be doing any traveling around, you know, public transport or a private tour bus, or you're renting a car, then definitely go for the small size scooter. Okay, so that concludes the video. I hope you found it useful. If there's anything there that I haven't covered, you have any other questions, you know, please do get in touch. You know, we're here to help. You know, you can leave a comment below, or our contact details are in the description if you want to get in touch directly. And again, I hope you found it helpful, and I hope your plans are coming together, and I hope you have a really good trip to Ireland. Slán.